like Myth Wukong, it's a very difficult game on its own right. You're going to struggle quite a little bit if you do not upgrade the proper skills to make a proper, somewhat of a build. The game, it's like the core of everything. It's just that this leveling skill system, and there's not like a good, like a right or bad choice, but there's some things that are going to hinder your progress, and the overall flow of combat is going to revolve around a very specific something that we'll just touch right now, so that you can make a easier journey for you. Before everything else, remember that there's a respec system in the game. If you go to any shrine right here, and then you go to self-advance, and then you press reignite the sparks, that will allow you, if you hold Y, or if you're playing on PC, you hold F. If you're playing on PlayStation 5, this is an Xbox controller on PC, you can press triangle and hold that for you to be able to respec your character. So the most important thing, without a doubt, it's always going to be choosing a stance, a combat stance. We have three of them: smash stance, pillar stance, and thrust stance. These guys play a major part on the overall core of the gameplay loop for Wukong, because these guys determine how many focus attacks do you have. The final focus attack, level 4, that is the most damaging skill that you have in the entirety of the game, and the overall flow of combat is always be building up your focus for you to be able to use the final focus attack, level 4. Now each stance is going to be better or worse depending on the situation and types of enemies that you are fighting against, but we'll make a dedicated video for each one of single one of these stances. Just suffice to say that I advise for you that since there is a respec system right here, you try them all and then you choose which one feels better for you. There's not like one that's better than the other one. I wouldn't advise for you to level them up at the same time. That's something that I wouldn't recommend, because by leveling up a single stance, like for example, if we were to level up the smash stance, which is the basic one that you usually have, and then you combine it with the overall extra little things that you have right here that improve your charge attacks, which are the ones that are going to be dealing the most damage out of everything, you're going to be able to just build one single stance. And the single stance, like I said, that is going to improve the damage, the overall damage and the combat flow that you are going to have on the game right here. And then, for example, the acceleration, instinct, versatility, quick hands, all of them are very important because they improve the overall damage and how fast you charge your heavy attacks. Remember that the overall flow of combat right here in Wukong is finally being able to understand the patterns of the boss that you're fighting against, so that you can use a heavy attack to deal massive damage. Now, that is not to say that some stances are not good or better for certain situations, like for example pillar stance. It's one of my favorites because it's one that you can use and abuse from a very safe spot to fight enemies that are not that big. This also works with bosses because there's many bosses that are not big. They don't have like this huge skeleton, and you can by all means take advantage of your pillar stance to deal lots and lots of damage while also being very safe at a very safe location. You can also drink your gourd from the pillar stance. There's many things that you can do from the pillar stance. It's a very safe stance. However, all of them have their very own strengths and weaknesses. Choose whichever one that you would want to be using, and then beside that, there's going to be a very specific something that you're going to be pairing it up, which is going to be your magic. Your magic is also going to be one of the strongest parts of your arsenal. And then we have, for example, mysticism or alteration, and then the magic one. At least on the early parts of the game, those are the ones that you have unlocked up until second chapter of the game. By the second chapter of the game, you also have access to the thrust stance, so that's actually kind of nice. But for example, all of these guys right here are going to do one single thing. They allow you a breather so that you have an extra chance to punish the boss. If you do not want to learn or memorize the boss's patterns, you can be using magic to take advantage of certain windows of opportunity that you can create for yourself whenever using one of these guys. Let me explain. For example, Cloud Step. This is one that is going to turn you invisible. It creates a shadow clone. The enemy is going to focus on that shadow clone that allows you to reposition, to attack, do stuff like that. And then we have rock solid. Rock solid turns you into a rock, and it deflects the enemy so that you have an extra window. It staggers them, so you have that extra window to attack. However, my favorite one is immobilize, because immobilize just hands down paralyzes the enemy so that you can take advantage and deal damage. And remember that you have to complete combos. Sometimes you're going to be able to complete combos with this guy right here. Sometimes you're not going to be able to complete combos with this guy right here when you're fighting against bosses. Which is why I advise for you to take this one ASAP. As soon as you have maxed out your pillar stance, you max out immobilize, because there is a Triforce that you have right here that it's very, very useful. And that Triforce is Evanescence, Spirit Shards, and Unbroken Chain. So why do I say that this is a Triforce if everything on this skill tree should be linked on one another? Because there's a very powerful combo that I like to use against bosses. So for example, you have the Spirit Shards. This recovers a moderate amount of mana upon crashing the immobilization of the enemy. To crash the immobilization of the enemy, you have to perform either a heavy attack or finish the light attack combo. However, sometimes that's not going to happen when you're fighting against bosses, because immobilize doesn't last as long when you're fighting against bosses. So there's something very important that you need to do. You have to have Unbroken Chain, because casting immobilize no longer interrupts the light attack combo, meaning that you can press the light attack combo twice, and as soon as you feel that you're going to be dealing the most damage, you cast immobilize your mid combo, and that allows you to finish the combo so that you can break the immobilize from the enemy and recover the mana. But that's not all. You can also be using Evanescence, which is going to prolong the amount of time that the enemy is going to be immobilized whenever you use it when they are going to do an attack. More often than not, bosses are very aggressive. If you cast it as soon as they are attacking and then your mid combo as well, you're going to not only deal damage because you're going to complete the combo, you're also going to recover mana, and the enemy is going to be immobilized longer, meaning that you have more time to use the heavy attacks for your stances to deal massive amounts of damage after you have broken the immobilize from the enemy. I can't stress enough how powerful this thing right here is. Now, one final honorable mention that I think that if you have already chosen, like, my advice is for you to use the immobilize, but you can use rock solid, you can use shadow step, you can use whichever spell that you would want to be using. But my advice is that once you have maxed out a stance and you have maxed out a spell that you like to use, focus on Composure, because Composure allows you to do something very similar to what we do, for example, with immobilize our Unbroken Chain, which doesn't interrupt the light combo. You're going to be dodging quite a lot in this game. The thing is that also a very important flow of battle is completing a light attack combo, because completing the light attack combo that is going to build your focus meters and your focus bars are going to be very important for your staff stances to deal damage, massive amounts of damage. However, sometimes with very aggressive enemies that's difficult to accomplish because you have to be dodging as well. If you pair Composure with dodging, with your perfect dodges or your regular dodges, it would no longer interrupt the light attack combo. This is true for regular dodges and perfect dodges. So you can perfect dodge, complete the combo, gain your focus points, deal massive damage with your posture stances, and rinse and repeat. And those are the skills that I would advise for you to use. By all means, like I mentioned, there's not like a specific kind of situation or way that you can go around with this right here. It's just that I feel that because of the core of how the gameplay is, I think that these, at the very least, are the ones that give you the most damage in return and in combat capabilities and prowess. Anyways, if you like the content, so like and never super appreciated. No, still you today, you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.